Donut Media, they finally they addressed the drama. They made a video on the podcast channel, the Donut Podcast channel, talking about the drama.
I saw it.
Yeah?
Did you see it? Did you see it?
Yes,
I saw a little bit of it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's major error in the podcast that we're going to talk about that I think not only me, but everybody that watched the podcast is wondering. There's a very important piece you left out.
Yeah, comments are blown up. Dude.
Yes. Now, they did talk about a few different things. Obviously, talked about, is there bad blood between Big Time and Donut? And they're like, no, dude, we're all friends. Like, we're good.
Yeah, they're here every week.
We never thought there was problems. I don't think anyone thinks there's problems between Big Time and Donut. It's more or less the reasons why they left Donut. And that's obviously, kind of the big picture here. Why are they actually leaving? We've talked about the corporate side of things, the suits that they talked about in the podcast as well. But there's some stuff that we didn't get answers to, which honestly makes it even harder to not speculate on what's going on.
It's classic elephant in the room scenario, dude.
Yes.
It's like, what is actually going on? The other thing, too, I was thinking about is that keep in mind, this is a donut podcast.
Right.
Like who's to say there's not a friggin' gun off camera?
That's what I was going to say.
Nolan, blink twice if you need help.
Honestly, I was watching Nolan speak. He's like, no, the suits are great. They love cars. My name is Nolan. Yes, my name is Nolan, and
wiping sweat. It's like that meme of Key and Peele, where the dude's sweating bullets.
Yes. No, I mean
dude.
maybe I'll get the wrong take on that, but that's genuine.
Yeah.
I thought, but if it's
I'm
coming from a
kidding,
donut
Nolan.
podcast, no problem. I mean, obviously, it's you're gonna give the information you want. Try to de-escalate the drama. There's obviously acknowledge there's a lot of stuff going on the internet, but if it's that chill, then why don't you acknowledge what's going on with James?
Yep.
Top comment. Actually, all of the comments that I read is just, where's James? This
Yep.
made it worse. Why you talk about James? And not talking about him makes it more weird.
It's louder if you don't say it.
100%. Yeah. As soon as people start watching it and they don't hear James, like that is like literally when everybody saw that video, when everybody saw the thumbnail, that's what they thought
Yes.
was going to be
Finally the
addressed.
answer.
It's like, where's James? We're finally going to get the answers.
Now, I'm sure there's a plan in place, and it's a bigger picture. They're going to either do some kind of announcement, or maybe there's another part of another channel. And there's probably something in the works that there's a reason they didn't talk about it. For them to just totally ignore it, they had to have known that that's what people wanted to know, and so there has to be a reason not to talk about it.
Yeah. I think the natural move that a lot of people think is like, oh, James is going to go on Big Time. He's going to join the Big Time channel. They obviously got a huge amount of traction, doing really well, right out of the gate.
Yep.
But I just don't see that happening.
Right.
I don't see James joining Big Time. Do you guys see that?
I think he's big enough to go do his own thing.
think
My
he's doing
first
his own
thought
thing,
was,
yeah.
why doesn't Nolan blink twice if you're still good, man? Why doesn't Nolan and James go do small time or bigger time or make a play on words of biggest time, right?
all time.
All time. Make it loud, exciting. I know. It's fun to watch these guys. Obviously, you watch them as characters on the channel, and sometimes you feel like, okay, they're just reading a script. But then sometimes you can just tell where they're just having fun and they enjoy it. And that's what they talked about on the podcast today. They basically said, no, we make content. We've had some flops. We've had some good ones.
Yeah.
But no, there's not some corporate suit telling us really what to make. But they got the vibe that there's definitely more than just everyone loves it.
That was a big conflicting point for me too, is just the big difference in the first Big Time video, where Job and Jeremiah were talking about their experience on the creative side of things, and it wasn't working out, and we're pitching ideas and nobody likes them, and we finally wanted to go do our own thing, and Nolan's like, everything's great.
They're here. They're right there.
I had a conversation with Suit Guy, and he said it was cool. And everything's going great now. The other thing that I noticed was that, and it's kind of you feel like you're the kid in between two divorced parents, right? You've got your dad and your mom. There's two sides of the story, and they hate each other.
Kind of stuck in
Obviously,
the middle.
it's not that they hate each other, but just hearing the difference between the two sides of the story, and how especially that Joe was talking about coming to Donut originally, and kind of realizing through all this process of things coming to light, people actually describing their experiences there, what it was really like,
Right.
And just that it sounds like there weren't as many real car people there, real car guys. And Job touched on that. When he got hired on, he's like, oh, sweet, I'm gonna go work with some cool car guys. And then he got there and he's like, oh wait, I am
You're the car guy.
The car
we
guy.
need your garage, actually. We do it at your house. Look, you do everything, please.
Yeah, and I've kind of noticed that. It seems like even James wasn't a big car dude. It seems like he's kind of become one.
Well, he was
more.
an actor.
Yeah, he was
He's literally on TV shows before Donut.
It was really interesting to see some similarities too between our channels, right? When we were doing more consistent uploads, and Donut's experience, the way that Nolan was explaining it. he's like, we can't do car builds constantly. He's like, not every video can be a Ranger build. You know, he's like, it would just be too much. Like, those videos are too expensive. And like, that was just like the same thing that I felt like we experienced. So it was interesting to hear that take too. It's like, for us, obviously at like more of like a micro level, you know, a couple 100,000 subscribers or whatever. It's just like, both of us kind of hit this point where it's like, wow, cars are really expensive.
It's expensive. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, Nolan talked about that. The video of driving all the Ford trucks took him 6 months to film, let alone how much does that cost to organize everything. So I would say we experienced that on a much smaller scale, but they were definitely right in saying like, what can we film in one day and post soon? But that's how our channels are. It's like you film one day, you edit that night, and you go live in the morning, and you just like get mad because it's a 10 at 10. If you don't put the effort in, you don't get the video. So I'm sure the videos that take a lot of effort and time and money, it's like they're going to pay off, and they're going to guarantee they're going to get an ad on it. And they talked about that in the podcast too. Is like, well, there's a lot of ads. That's because we got to make money. And I get that. It doesn't have to be a big corporation to make money, but anyone doing YouTube that's in the automotive space knows that you have to make ads because you got to buy cars. You got to spend a lot of money to have toys to play with, just to film.
Made it even more impressive that like there are a lot of channels that just operate like that. It's like, I don't have a video idea, I'm gonna go buy a car.
Yeah.
You know,
Just the whole
I
video.
don't have a video idea, I'm gonna twin turbo this Lamborghini. You know, it's just like crazy like amounts of money.
And that becomes like the main, right? And then like the next video, it's like, well, I already did that. What are they going to like? I got to buy something even crazier. So it is, I've talked about this before. This is just kind of the uphill battle where you're always setting the bar higher and higher and higher. But when you start comparing it to all the other channels, like you've got to compete against mega bucks, right?
Imagine Mr. Beast, dude. Millions and millions.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, and it's crazy to see like the evolution of Donut like over time. How I feel like so many people, they get that like nostalgic feel when they're talking about Donut. They're like, oh, I remember when Zach was working on the Miata, you know, in his garage. And it's like, that's what they were like really looking forward to. And it's just like the most basic mods, super cheap stuff, whatever. And like comparatively to like the Ranger that they're building now, which has this like crazy, like, you know, crate engine from Chevrolet and like a bunch of like custom body work and like full like long arm, long travel suspension. It's just like, this is not like realistic. People don't care.